All right, we're looking pretty full out there. There's a few more seats down the front if you want to take some, but if you're happy to stand and sit on the sides there. Might just get proceedings underway then. My name's Daniel Odes. I'm a Bardi traditional owner from the Kimberley region of Australia and part of the Kimberley Land Council's Land and Sea Management Unit based in Broome and spread out through the Kimberley. Just like to acknowledge the Larrakia Nation for having us here on their country. It's great that they could accept the conference here. So today we're going to have a whole bunch of presentations, which is exciting. We're going to have 5 presentations from all around the world, including one from my countryman Philip McCarthy and myself and Damon Williams, a Juwampo Ranger. In last year, I travelled to Rio de Janeiro with my fellow countryman Melissa George for the United Nations Conference on Sustainable Development, where Prime Minister Gillard announced the development of the World Indigenous Network. I'm happy to stand here today, almost a year later, having been involved in one of the most important and exciting components of the World Indigenous Network so far, the International Exchange Program. As part of the WIN, the Australian Government has funded a series of international pilot exchanges. As you will hear from the presenters today, these exchanges have provided participants with an opportunity to share regional approaches and experiences using contemporary and traditional knowledge and local practices to better manage the environment and support sustainable livelihoods around the world. Leaving your own home community and travelling to a new country can be exciting and daunting at the same time. However, we will carry the thoughts of the places we visited, the people we met, and the ideas that we shared for the rest of our lives. We also bring back a new enthusiasm for the work that we do back home and think of what we as individuals can do better for our communities. The pilot exchange program kicked off in October last year with an exchange that I participated in with Bardi Joe Ranger Philip and Juwampo Ranger Damon Williams to Canada. We met with Canadian and provincial governments and also First Nations representatives at a number of locations in Canada, including Vancouver, Yellowknife, Winnipeg and Ottawa. I'll speak about that more later. We're going to start to introduce, we've got Mexican, African, Solomon Islands and also New Zealand exchanges to go through. So I'd like to invite the first exchange presentation, which is the Comcac people from the Seri region of Mexico. We actually had the experience of the Comcac coming to the Kimberley last week for the Kimberley Ranger Forum, so it'd be interesting to see what their thoughts on coming over the Kimberley were.
Yeah, thank you, Daniel. I'd like to thank the traditional owners of Gammon and Kimberley for hosting everyone. I'd like to thank the traditional owners here and the ancestors for allowing us to have this great opportunity to speak to each other on their homelands. And my name is Tim Dykman from Ocean Revolution. We're one of the sponsors of this network, and I'm going to introduce you to Peter Murray and to Alberto Moreno from Huntconccoc. In the background, you'll see pictures of Huntconccoc, which is a nation within the borders of what we know as Mexico. Most of us Western people know as Mexico. And they actually have a long history of exchanges with groups here in Australia. We've been to the Torres Straits, we've been to Northeast Arnhem Land, to Timaru, we've been to Cairn, to the Najanji, and now we've had a chance to be with the Kimberley. And I think they're going to start and just talk briefly about something that was a concrete thing that was gained during the first exchange and has continued on through through all of the exchanges and really through the development of their management systems for their home territory. And it's a tool that's used by probably a lot of you rangers called either CyberTracker or iTracker. It was invented in the homeland of the San, who are here, and so it has lots of connections with all of the groups that are here. And it's a tool that, at least in Konka territory, has been used to translate traditional knowledge into a form that policymakers and governmental managers can understand and use for policy making. So I'll give over the floor to, who's going to speak first, Peter? Or? Peter's going to speak first, and they're in control now.
Hi, I'm Peter Murray. My bush name is Walwai Jabrita. I manage the land of the Great Sandy Desert of Ngudra native title lands. It's consisted of 80,000 square kilometers. That's the first claim. We've got A, B, and C. The A is pretty much half of the Great Sandy Desert along the Canning Stock route as well. So we do management on those areas. So firstly, I'd like to respect the traditional owners of the Larrakia tribe in Darwin for accepting us to participate and have talks here. So what we've started as a land management tool in the last 3 years was we've built a application on iTrackers. So yeah, just going back a few years ago, it started when I went over to San Francisco on a exchange trip to look at partnership opportunities internationally to try and bring resources to our areas, as in what other different ideas other groups are doing internationally, worldwide. So I've started a project on climate change in developing a database, cultural database on country that will store a lot of those traditional knowledge, and iTracker application, which we've built on our own to really look at what sort of work we do out on country, such as land management, cultural, traditional knowledge, collecting all those data and storing it into the database. So we're still in the process of trying to make the iTracker read, or the database to read each other, to try and spit out reports on what do we do for future land management issues, as in traditionally or mainstream. So, so yeah, that's where we're at. We're into the stage 2 of the project in looking at water diversity on the bores, on where the water levels are dropping. A lot of the lakes are dry out on country. So yeah, climate change, that's another big word that our traditional owner didn't know about climate change, so we had to do workshops in teaching our traditional owners what it really meant. And after a few workshops, it really came in. We got a lot of information, traditional knowledge on ways the climate is changing and what's the indicators out there. That's so it's giving us rangers a better view on planning for future management through traditional knowledge, using modern science to collect all those data out on country, and monitoring and evaluation comes next in climate change. So we're in that stage where we're monitoring the data and looking where we're lacking or where the climate is changing, So we better planning for future management through the database and eye trackers application. So yeah, thank you.
Hi to everyone. I would like to pay my respects for the Larakia Nation that's hosting us during the whole conference. Really, it's an honor to be here sharing the same room with all of you from all over the world, Indigenous people, brothers and sisters, elders and youth. And I have two stories to share with you today. As Peter says, when we first met years ago, we didn't knew what were the outcomes of the exchange, so we just got into the plane and we flew to this country, to Australia, and then our host took us to look to the traditional owners and country in the Northern Territory and Torres Strait. And one of the things that brought us here was the sea turtle, because we are coastal people, saltwater people that lives where the desert meets the sea, and we have a strong culture on sea turtle. And when we came in, we found out that tribes were very similar. They had respect, they had management, they have an important part of their cultures about sea turtles. And then we met the rangers from the Northern Territory and the Torres Strait Islands, and they showed us this cool monitoring methodology that they were working with, which was the eye track. And we were doing sea turtle monitoring at that time too, but old style, you know, with a piece of paper and your pen, all by hand. Both of them were cool ways to do monitoring, but the most important thing out of that was the management, how to preserve sea turtles for future generations. One of the things that Australians, you know, traditional owners, found stunning about our success there was that our nation stopped eating sea turtle, not because of the conservation concept or Western conservation push. It was more like a gratitude offered to the species, because they helped us to survive for thousands and thousands of years, and now it was time for us to pay back. So our elders got the message, and we didn't have to do any activism process, a long-term activism process. It was really easy to convey the idea of that they needed our help. So it was based on two assets. The exchange were based on traditional and cultural components, and the monitoring efforts that we both were doing at that time. And I'll begin with the first story, which is pretty much the story of my life. When I came the first time, I met the traditional owners of the Northern Territory and the Torres Strait Islands, and I figured how important it is to continue our cultures, to preserve them for the future, to do something in our lives that's relevant for our people, because we can't just say sitting there and looking the rest of the world moving forward. And that's what I found. And I also realized that Indigenous people needs to gain tools, gain experience in order to survive. It's not about adaptation, it's not about just coexisting, but it's for our cultures to remain here on Earth for more time. And the second time I came in, it was very boring. It was very, very, very Western style. I came for the Resilience Alliance workshop. I don't want to be mean to the thing, but it wasn't what I expected. It was 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. workshops dealing with PhD information and data all day straight for 7 days. And then I realized I don't belong here. This is not my place. And as much as I am a scientist and I do science too. This is not what I want to be at. This is not my community. And then this dirt exchange, I confirm my feelings. This is what I want to be, sharing table with you, having conversations, having food, the way that indigenous people actually do exchanges. And that's the first story. The other story that I want to share is more recent. It happened just a week ago when we were at the Bardi Jawa traditional owners country. And I want to share with you this, which is a pearl shell that Frank Davis gave us outside of his house. And you might call it coincidence or anything else, but this shell has 3 elements. On top, we have a shellfish, which is a mollusk. And in the middle, there is a water hole. And in the bottom, you can see a crab. And why this is important to me? Because he didn't know who we were and where, or how our lives were before we came in. But crabs is the most important resource we have in my community. Is the resource, the animal from my people makes living every day. We have food from crabs, we have fisheries, we make money out of this animal, and in the middle we have water. We are facing lack of water in my community, fresh water, and we have salt water in the oceans, but we have no fresh water in my community, and we struggle every day for fresh water. And on top, you see a shellfish. Shellfish is the second most important resource that we have in our place. So pretty much, he knew who we were. He dreamed us, maybe. And this is the kind of things that you don't get out of Western styles conference. This is the kind of real exchanges that you can actually have in the communities. So it's an honor to be with you again. And let's move forward. And I would like to hear from everyone where we want to take the WIN conference for the future. And I'm not sure where it goes, but I'm sure that I want indigenous people running the WIN conference.
Okay, thank you to Tim, Peter and Alberto for that interesting insight into your exchange experiences over the last couple of years. The next group to present on their exchange experience is a group of conservation managers from the Solomon Islands, together with a group of rangers from the Torres Strait Islands. Not only did the Torres Strait Islander rangers travel to the Solomon Islands to meet this group, but the visit was reciprocated earlier this month when the Solomon Islanders travelled to the Torres Strait and Cape York. If I could just ask them to come up.
Kapung Migi Katanga, Guru Mabaygal, David Imobim. My name is Frank Loban. I'm from the Guru Malulgal nations of Western Torres Strait. And
thank you, Frank, and good morning, everybody. My name is John Peter. I'm from the Solomon Islands, coordinating the Conservation Resource Management Program in part of the country, which I'll be talking about as part of the exchange. So thank you very much for the opportunity.
Just want to firstly pay our respects formally on behalf of my colleagues from the Torres Strait to the Larrakia Nation, and big also for having us here. We are going to talk about our exchange. The Torres Strait is located at the tip of Australia, and sometimes we consider that Australia is the biggest island in the Torres Strait next to Tasmania. And you can see where the Solomon Islands is compared to us. I believe we share a lot of similarities in our culture. We're Melanesian people, so the exchange for us, I believe, would have got a lot out of it, especially dealing with some of the same issues. We went over there to talk to the rangers. We visited a place called the Anabans, and their main project activity was looking after marine turtles, which is a big thing in our place as well, besides the dugong. I'll hand it over to John Peter. He'll talk about his experience with the exchange, and then I'll back him up.
All right, thank you, Frank. So the first part of our presentation is for me to talk about the visit that the TI Rangers and their managers, they came over to our country mid of last month. So as you can see, that's the map of Anawans within the Solomon Islands. And so we are actually located, our program is actually located between two provinces. In the Solomons, we have 9 provinces, and Anawan is located between 2 provinces, which is Choiseul and Isabel province. And Anawan is actually within the Isabel province. And as you can see, that's Torres Strait Island region, which Frank will talk about after my part of the presentation. So I guess as we are part of the Indigenous exchange, the aim of the exchange visit between the two sides, the first bullet point is meeting with leaders, rangers, elders, and community people just to interact and share experiences and how they implement the activities where they come from. So this is part of, or is one of the aim of the exchange between the two countries. And the second one is to raise awareness of rangers so that they can learn from each other on what they have in common and some of the lessons learned between the two countries or the two indigenous groups in the two countries. And the third one is identifying the common challenges and solutions that our region, they both face together as they both striving to implement and improve on their resource management. And the other one is better understanding of natural resources, management in Solomon Islands and the Torres Strait. And lastly is to establish networks and determine ways in which both sides can maintain them in the future. So when the TI Rangers, they came over to the Solomons last month, part of the goal is for them to meet our community elders. So in the Anawans, we have 3 communities that come together, and they form this indigenous group, which they manage the marine park in the Anawans. So the first community that the TI Rangers visit is Wagina community. And Wagina is not a Melanesian community, it's a Micronesian community. But they are settlers way back in the 1960s. And so we sort of like bring them forward to be part of this amazing marine protection in the Anawans. And so after the visit in Wagina, we took the rangers to the field station at the Anawans, in which our rangers, they provide tours to the TI Rangers, show them the core biological activities that they usually do at the Anawans. So one of those is the monitoring of sea turtles. In the Anawan, it's known for its accommodating of the large hawksbill nesting rookery in the South Pacific, and it has been going on for the last 18 years. So this is one of the activities that our rangers, they show to the visiting rangers of Torres Strait. And one of the areas as well as in the Anawans is protecting our cultural heritage. So as part of the tour, our rangers provide a tour to the TI Rangers to visit one of our cultural heritage sites within the Anawan group of islands. And while in Vagina, the TI Rangers, they are smiling there. They visit the Catholic Church, which has some kind of history that connects back to the people of Micronesia who are living in Vagina. So that's, they're actually standing in front of the Catholic Church there. And part of our job in the Anawans is we mainly rely on sea transport to implement our activities, because in the Anawan groups we have 4 adult islands, and every day the rangers, they have to move from one island to the other to do total track counts and fish monitoring, as well as coral monitoring. So we very much rely on both to implement our activities. And you can see there the chairman of our TSR is relaxing on a boat when we travel from Vagina to the Anawans. So in the Anawans, we're not only doing or dealing with marine environments, we also have a little bit land-based activities. And as you can see on the slide, our rangers showed the visiting rangers the megapod nest. And so part of their job on the land-based management is to monitor the activity of megapod eggs. Now, megapod eggs is a protein to our local community. So we have open season and closed seasons, and that's how we manage it. So 6 months closure and 6 months open, which allows people in the community to come and get a permit, and then they can harvest the eggs. So this is one of the sites which we have on the group of islands in the Anawan. And this is to show the Anawan field station. So together with our rangers, they take a shot of, their visit at the field station. So, part of the sustainable livelihood opportunities in the Anawan is we try and encourage livelihood opportunities for people in the community. And so in Vagina, they farm what they call the seaweed. And so this is when we had a visit to one of the sites in Vagina for the visiting rangers to go and see the production of seaweed. The species is actually exported overseas for pharmaceutical, products like shampoo and, other body solution. Right, that's about my presentation. I'll now hand it over to my colleague Frank to continue on with the other length of our exchange, which we visit TI. Thank you very much.
Thanks, John. Firstly, before I start talking about the actual exchange, my position in the Torres Strait, I actually work for the Torres Strait Regional Authority, and I manage all the sea projects in collaboration with the rangers. We actually have about just over 40 rangers up in the Torres Strait. We try and have rangers on each island. There's about 14 communities. We do a range of activities up there, which include land and sea-based management activities. When the Anawan Rangers came over, we firstly took them to the Land and Sea Discovery Center, which is a facility on Thursday Island itself, which it allows school kids to come there and learn about management, natural resource management. I think it's a model that's around Australia. There's a few Land and Sea Discovery Centers in South Australia, and I think ours is the first one in Queensland. Some people in Queensland might correct me on that. We took them there. We talked about all of the activities that a lot of the information in the actual Land and Sea Discovery Center actually comes from our work under the Torres Strait Regional Authority, and which is presented to these children. So I think a lot of the Solomon Island guys got a lot out of that. Now, the Torres Strait, as you guys might know, is a group of islands, so it's very hard to travel around. It's very remote, costs a lot of money, a lot of blue water, and a lot of islands. So mostly we travel around there using boats, but we also utilize small aircraft. So when the guys came over to our place, we actually hired a nice boat to cruise around the region for 5 days and, you know, relaxing. So it was pretty good. A lot bigger boats than what they travel around in the Solomon. So. And during the boat trip, we had a lot of time to exchange our ideas, talk about the activities on ground, exchange some information about data, how we capture data, traditional ecological knowledge, catch data for turtles, because as everybody aware, as traditional owners, we have the right to consume turtles and dugongs. So up in the region, we try and manage that through our ranges, through community-based management plans, and we just recently established a database for traditional owners to collect this data and use the information to inform traditional owners in how much they're taking. This photo here is a picture of when they actually met our rangers. It's on an island called Baru. Baru is in the west. It was their visit was at the same time of a lot of our rangers were doing fire management. So when they went there, they actually could see what our rangers were doing on ground in regards to some fire management. It was actually fire management training, so you know, I don't think any fires were lit during that time. And during our trip to Baru, we exchanged ideas on feral animal management. And this is my colleague, Senior Ranger from Baru, Frank Nona, using some local resources to catch pigs. Because we're islands, we have a lot of coconut trees, so we use the coconut as a bait, and I think it's working. Well, it works quite effectively, actually, and the first time they actually did it, they caught about 12 pigs using coconuts. We also took them to the art center in Baru, and I think it was special as the previous speaker spoke about, is exchanging indigenous knowledge, especially in regards to art, because a lot of our ideas and the way we manage things, especially before colonization and even today, is captured in our artwork. And that's some of the artists at Baru talking about how we used to manage, I guess, turtle and dugongs back in the day. And as a part of any cultural exchange, we put on a little bit of a feast for them. We showed them how we danced there. And the first photo up in the left is of the young boys. Up in the islands, we always ensure that traditional dancing is passed on to our children. And the other photo is of our rangers actually dancing, and which is good too, because that cultural component runs deeply through our rangers as well. We took them around the island. We had a chat about dugong and sea turtle management. Like I mentioned before, we are up in the Straits. We manage turtle and dugong through community-based management plans. The reason being that is that decisions are made locally on the ground, and any decisions about how we manage it remains within the community through the elders and traditional owners. But in saying that, in the Torres Strait, it's legislatively, it's very complex. Because we border PNG, there's a number of things that you have to consider up there. Another country, both Commonwealth and state legislation, and an international treaty. When we actually began to went down the road of dugong and turtle management, it's a big process, and I'm sure other traditional owners would appreciate that journey. When you have to involve everybody, talk to everybody, get everybody on the same journey. Everybody agrees on how you manage it. Sorry. So it took us we started that journey in 2005 when we just had a meeting at Baru, coincidentally, determining what traditional owners are, and talking about how we were going to manage Turtle and Dugong. And now we're in 2013 at the WIN conference, 40 ranges later, with a whole supportive framework behind these boys. I think is a big achievement from our boys. This is on an island called Masig. We do weeds, eradicate weeds as well, and do land rehabilitation activities. That's a nursery where rangers are showing the Audubon rangers seedlings and things like that, and just talking about general land management activities. And we also took them for a dive. I mean, of course, you're going to go to an island, you must want to have a jump in the water, see what corals look like and all that kind of stuff. That's a picture of a data logger that records surface temperature in the Torres Strait. We're engaged with the National Environment Research Program, and one of those projects under that is the coral reefs of the Torres Strait. And one component of that project is just collecting data on sea surface temperature to contribute to the bigger climate change program that we have in the Torres Strait. That comes to the end of my part of the presentation, I just want to say, I guess, on behalf of my crew, we're honored to be here too, to share this conference with all Indigenous people from all over the world, and our countrymen from around Australia. And we just want to say a big SO and our SO for all of you.
Okay, thank you to Frank and John for presenting. It's good to see some more saltwater islander groups sharing knowledge on their cultural and natural management initiatives. And I remember going to the Torres Strait in 2010 and the warm welcome that we got as the Indigenous Advisory Committee. Yeah, beautiful song and dance that people welcomed us with. And the vermicelli chicken was pretty good too. Just wanted to get on to the next group. And also mentioning the Torres Strait and the turtle and dugong management, and basically just wanted to raise the point of, Torres Strait are really leading the way, and definitely in Australia in terms of their sustainable management of turtle and dugong. So we're all still looking at you guys. The next group to present on the exchange experience is a group of land and sea managers who have travelled from Africa to meet with traditional owners in Kakadu National Park. The rangers come from Kenya, Tanzania and South Africa. Please welcome them.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Brent Masters, and I'm the Operations Manager for the Thin Green Line Foundation. I too would like to pay my respects to the traditional landowners, past and present, and wish to thank and congratulate everyone connected with WIN for making the exchange and the conference possible. Just for those who are not familiar with the Thin Green Line Foundation, our motto is we protect nature's protectors. There is over 1,000 rangers have been killed on the front line of conservation over the last 10 years that have been recorded, and we support the widows and orphans and the families of those rangers to make sure that those forgotten people of conservation aren't left behind. Many of you would know our founder and CEO, Sean Wilmore. He really wanted to be here today, but as part of our anti-poaching efforts, he was called off to London to talk with Prince Charles and Prince William in anti-poaching initiatives which we want to distribute worldwide. I thought I'd throw those photos in for Sean because they just came in and he was there last week. But the real heroes of conservation are the rangers behind me, and without further ado, I would like to introduce Francis and Wilson, who will go through and talk about what they do in Kenya.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. My name is Francis Katanga from Kenya, working in an organization called Big Life Foundation Kenya. I'm a chief ranger. I've worked for 18 years with a composition of 280 rangers. But before my presentation, I have to thank the Ministry of Environment, based here in Australia, for they have supported us to attend this worldwide conference through the Thin Green Line International. Here in Amboseli, in basis of Mount Kilimanjaro, we have the pressure on natural resources due to increase in human population. We have to create awareness to the indigenous people to move with their livestock, because the Maasai people usually move to where green pastures are with their livestock. So we have to control movement of their livestock to the corridors of wildlife. Creating the need of conservation to conserve the resources for the benefits of local people. Conserve wildlife and its habitat to benefit people now in the future. Contribute to the success and welfare of the Maasai people through economic, education, and ecology. Here in the map is where we are located. We are operating within 7 communities, and our rangers are located to all those group ranges. As you can see, we border 3 national parks. Southwest, this is Southwest, the national park. And also in the middle, we have another national park here, Amboseli National Park. And alongside, we have Chulu Hills National Park here. All our rangers operate outside the protected areas. I will show you where the group ranches are, the 7 group ranches. This is where we really operate, and all our rangers are based alongside that areas. Movement of wildlife movement between the protected areas and the communal land. As you can see, the arrows shown in the map, that is the movement of wildlife from the protected areas to the communal land. And really enough, our rangers can't sleep day and night to try and protect these wild animals. Community rangers. Community rangers usually assist in anti-poaching work. That is by game meat. In 2011-2012, our rangers managed to arrest 350 poachers and arrested with game meat. Whereby, as we speak now, the situation is not good, because this around of the year now, poaching us is now going up. They also recover livestock to the entire community. Wherever they are being stolen or being run to the park, they are allowed in the national parks to go and recover the livestock to the community. They also collect data of either elephants killed, because in Africa we are losing a lot of elephants due to their ivories. They collected data to the killed elephants, and also they collected data to either newborn elephants, babies, combating habitat destruction. As you can see in that picture, that is amazing animal, a big animal, but we are really losing a lot of them. That is the carcass of a killed elephant. But lucky enough, the poachers did not recover the tusk. Our game rangers really good, amazing job and recovered the job. That weighs 192 kilos. That's the elephant that has been killed through spears and also through guns. We usually face a lot of challenges when we are down there. Also, in our area where I work, we have black rhinos. And as all you know that rhinos are now at a higher level being endangered. So we have 65 fully trained rangers to combat on the areas of the rhino. They collaborate with the government people, especially the Kenya Wildlife Service, together to do this kind of work, protecting these animals. We can't sleep 24 hours protecting these animals. Monitoring using camera traps. Rangers also use foot patrol easy to desnare the process of either when poachers lay their snares. In the picture you see here, there's a black rhino being taken by one of our camera traps during the night. But on the same camera trap, it managed to take one rhino with a snare. That's the snare. But we managed to gun down the rhino because it has already destroyed all its neck and it can't survive. When we diagnose the rhino, we see that it can't survive, and that's when, sorry. In here, you see the rhino has been shot to save the horns. That's the ranger's work. I may leave now the other part to my friend Wilson, but before I sit down, as a chief ranger, I may say, we have come a long way in protecting wildlife, the natural resources, the sea animals, and as well rangers losing their life while protecting them. Let's all join hands and minds together at this World Conference by trying to stop the trade of ivories and exploitation of the small creatures living in water, because it's taking away the beauty of our lands. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Wilson Mancha. I come from Kenya, in Africa. I work in an organization called Big Life Foundation Kenya, as Francis has said. We work in the same organization. I'm a chief ranger. I worked for 12 years protecting this wildlife from poachers and also protecting our environment from being destroyed by these nasty people. I'll talk you through what you see here. This is a predator compensation project. This actually deals with big cats like lions, cheetahs, leopards, hyenas, and so on. We are pastoralists where I come from. We keep livestock. And as you know that lions and livestock can't survive in the same place. They have to eat each other, you know. Lions kill livestock and human kill lions. So it's a big conflict there. And actually our project started a Predator Compensation Fund in 2003 in Berikani Group Ranch in where I come from, just to compensate an indigenous person if a livestock is killed by a predator. Rather than killing a predator, we'd rather give you money and leave the predator to survive. We started in 2003. It also expanded a nearby group ranch in 2007 called Kuku Group Ranch, MWCT. And also it extended to Orgululu Group Ranch, just down there. And also it's a very successful program. Here you can see what I was telling you about the lion conflict. This lion has been killed just in March this year by a group of indigenous people. It has killed like 47 shots. That's goats and sheep. So they decided to go and kill the lion. So and we did not manage to stop them because there are so many. They have spears and also they are not happy of us sometimes stopping them from killing the lion. So they managed to kill one lion. Why do you compensate them? You can see we started the project in 2007, in 2003, and actually before we started the project, the number of lions killed is 24. So when we started the project in 2003, now the number of lions decreased from 24 to 9 lions. And also in 2004, you see the number start going down to 0. So in 2004, we lose 2 lions. 2005, we lose 5 lions. 2006, we lose 1. 2007, we lose 0, going down there. Now, in 2010, the 2 we lose there was due to politics, pressure. You know, there are some politics within the community land. So some politics rise up. They managed to kill 2 lions, which is not good. Is it possible? You can see a picture of a lion and a cow.